I want you all to imagine a little 7-year-old boy. He goes to school. He's not very popular, but a lot of people tend to pick on him. And, he's upset about it, but he doesn't let it get to him. And he goes home, and he doesn't want to talk about his day, but it still bothers him. So what does he do? He decides to go upstairs and play some video games for maybe an hour or so. That little kid was me. I was never the popular guy in school, but I knew that there was a way for me to escape my harsh life in video games. But kind of looking back on it, I realized a lot of people are saying, bad things about video games and how they are detrimental to children, how they turn people into sociopaths. Well, the truth of the matter is actually, video games have a very positive effect on the brain. Now looking at it, we could say what all the bad things are about video games. There are a few, but you just need to be careful. And then we can continue to look into see what does it actually do for the brain and how does it actually help with how someone can treat their daily life. And also how the medical field, such as physical therapy or even surgery, is actually being improved by the use of video games. Now, when people argue about video games, everyone automatically imagines that one fat guy sitting at his computer playing his game for, 30 hours a day. And that's just an extreme case of video game addiction. Dr. Ruben Gagda, a neurobiologist, he said that there are some neuroimaging studies that strongly suggest that neurological circuits in the pathways involved with drug addiction are also involved with the pathological video game addiction. Other experts pointed to a study that showed that video game addiction parallels the brain areas affected in alcoholics, which means it is easy to get addicted to video games, which a way someone could get addicted to either cigarettes, alcohol, or other illegal substances. And with this addiction, that's what leads someone to want to sit and play something for hours and hours on end. That's what gives most of the bad rap to video games. Because of addiction, it can lead to obesity and other health problems such as carpal tunnels in the wrist and cardiac problems because people aren't getting enough exercise. But looking at all of these issues, those are only in cases of severe video game addiction. Those aren't all cases. If you look, there was a study done where a doctor took 28 college men between the ages of 19 and 24, and he had a control group who didn't play any video games for 2 weeks, and another group who played video games for at least 10 hours 1 week, and no video games at all the second week. And in all 3 weeks, they did a scan of the brain to see what would happen. They noticed that in the control group, everything remained the same, whereas with the people who played the video games, after the first week where they played at least 10 hours of video games, in their brain, on the part that suppressed all of the anger and all of their aggressive emotions was actually a little bit weaker. But then as soon as they did the second scan the next week where they didn't play any video games at all, it was back to the way it originally was. So looking at all of these factors, video games can't be that harmful to the brain, mainly because it can repair itself if you take a long enough break from it. Looking at what video games actually can do for the brain, a research done by Robert Holtz, who's also a reporter for the Wall Street Journal, said, a growing body of university research suggests gaming improves creativity, decision-making, and perception. The specific benefits are wide-ranging, from improved hand-eye coordination in surgeons to vision changes that boost driving ability at night. Now, it's also, looking at this study, it was said that the average hardcore gamer who plays at least about maybe 5 hours of action video games a week can make accurate decisions 25% faster than the normal person without sacrificing any accuracy. And it's little things like this, when looking into it more, it actually came to be that the reason why they're able to do this is the synapses in the brain actually can fire faster and they know the routes to make decisions. I'm not saying, it makes you smarter. Excuse me. It makes you smarter. It's just saying that it's working your brain more to the point where it's easier for you to do things. Other studies also say that if you play video games, it's easier to manipulate three-dimensional objects, whereas an engineer or a surgeon would need to be able to look at something in a three-dimensional space and know how to work it. It would actually improve their ability to do that, making things safer and more efficient. Then continuing into the medical field, Pamela M. Cato from the University Medical Center says that video games have been used strategically to affect a number of issues in health among patients, which include nausea in pediatric cancer, anxiety management, and physical therapy and physical fitness. When you have a small child, maybe about 10 years old, who has cancer, you can't go give him a medicinal marijuana card. So instead of giving him that, they actually figured out that video games can actually reduce symptoms caused by chemotherapy and other procedures that can be used to try to cure the cancer. With anxiety management, kind of like as I was saying earlier with my own life, sometimes you just need an escape from reality. And video games offer that escape. Then with physical therapy and physical fitness, if someone was in a car accident or someone got hurt in sports, there are a lot of physical therapy establishments are actually putting in an Xbox Kinect or a Nintendo Wii because it helps them move again. And I've gone into physical therapy clinics myself, and I've seen elderly people in their 80s or 90s actually playing the Wii Fit and trying to do the skiing thing and then cursing at the TV because they don't understand how it works. All of these things are true. Sometimes video games can be bad, but that's only in the severe cases of addiction. But on the contrary, they're also very, very positive for the brain because it helps you work faster, and it's also being applied into medicine today. So are video games all that bad? No, but you need to be careful and not get addicted.
Aaron, you here? Hang on just one second. All right, Scott, I think the personal visualization at the beginning was okay, although I think you needed a smoother transition to the argument that you're making. I think you do have a very clear statement of fact on what the impact of this is going to be on the brain. That sounds like it's you've got a claim of fact that you're going to be arguing here. However, the preview ends up sounding like you're giving an informative speech where you're outlining all this research that's being done on this. You want to make an affirmative claim. I'm going to show you how the research has shown this. I'm going to show you that the real source of the problem is addiction as opposed to playing the games themselves. And I'm going to show you that there are substantial benefits from using these games both intellectually and physically. So you need to be able to think a little bit more assertive. You make it sound like I'm going to give an informative speech about the research that's being done in all these fields. You've got to make an argument, so you've got to have a point of view, and you've got to express it forcefully. I think the problem that I see immediately is that you start off on the defensive. You are basically trying to distinguish playing video games from being addicted to video games, which I think is an important point to make. But it feels like you start you're going with the rebuttal argument first instead of the claim that you're trying to make. And I think you need to develop the claim a little bit more first, and then maybe develop the rebuttal after that, and come back and say, now I know you've heard all these negative things about video games and everything, and it might be hard to believe some of the things that I'm telling you, but the truth of the matter is the real source of those problems is not the games themselves, but the way people fail to play the games appropriately. They get addicted to those games, and if you don't believe in video addiction, let me tell you why that's true, and then make your argument there. It feels like that would make a little bit more sense. You kind of put that whole video addiction thing up first. Let me show you that this is the real problem, so on and so forth, before you even get to the arguments about what you are saying. So it just feels a little bit like it's mixed up in order. I think you do a very nice job speaking to the audience. Sometimes the pacing's a little bit awkward in the beginning of the speech. I think that you do better in the body of the speech. You're always very good about making eye contact with the audience. I felt a little discomfort only because it just looked strange to me, those little pieces of paper dangling there. I thought, poor kid, he can't afford an index card. If he'd come by, I'd have given him 5 index cards he could have stuck the paper to, and then they wouldn't be flopping around like that. It just looked funny. It looks like, I cut up an article and now I'm going to read bits and pieces out of it instead of I planned an argument and I'm using this information to support my presentation. And I think you need to be a little bit more forceful than that. All right, thank you.